and welcome everybody to the show. It goes a little bit like this. Uh, we are once again at the. I'm just waiting to see that the audio is coming in okay. Can you guys talk real quick?
Hello?
Yep. So I think the audio is coming in real quick. If you guys can check all the YouTubes for me, because I'm seeing a blank screen on the YouTubes, but that might just be the editor. Yeah, it's the YouTube editor. All right, everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Dev Roundtable once again, coming right back at you with the Dev Roundtable. So I'm Dreaming Dice, and I'm accompanied today by our boys Eno and Eric. Say hello, Eno and Eric.
Hello, guys.
I
So, as you guys may or may not know, if you're a first time viewer, a little explanation as to what we do here. We check out people's Screenshot Saturday, work in progress, any kind of demo media that you want to showcase. Usually, we check out videos, sometimes screenshots, and sometimes straight up demos of games. And we give our little critique from the perspective of three developers. We have, from different kinds of branches. So, we give our opinions of it since we know how, important it is when you're in that development process to receive that feedback rather than just a like or a comment of look good and that's it. uh, so that's what we do here today. If you want to send in your footage and you want us to take a look at it, go into the links down below, hop into the Discord, and post it in there, and we will check it out. And the instructions on how to do that and all that is already in the Discord. So just join the Discord and do that. You can also tweet it at me if you prefer, or DM it at me. I believe I have open DMs. If not, just give me a follow, and I'll follow you back, and we can do all the stuff. And if you want to participate, you can actually come on to the roundtable and you can give your own criticism and opinions on whatever we look at. You can also do that. Just join the Discord. That in that case, you do have to join the Discord because we do use Discord as our main communication service. So uh, before we get started, I'm going to let Eric and Eno give little introductions as to who exactly they are.
I'm
you know.
Enogames. I'm developing at the moment a cooking management game with RPG mechanics for mobile. And it's currently in the alpha phase, and you can contact me over the Discord.
Awesome. And what engine are you developing it in?
I'm on Unity 3D.
Awesome. Eric, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Eric. I do art and stuff like that. I also teach on YouTube art stuff. Sometimes I even do game stuff, but that is a little more rare. But yeah, I also do music and stuff like that. You can find me all around on as either Eric Ronin on things like Twitter and Instagram, or as Eric Fares on YouTube.
Awesome. So, all right, I'm Dreaming Dice, as I previously said. I'm also making a game in Unity. Mine is a tactics game, overall strategy that has some 4X mechanics, and you can check that out on my Twitter, or you can join the Discord and ask all of the questions. But enough of the introductions. We're going to start today by reviewing Eno's post. So I'm going to showcase that on screen right now in a minute, and we are going to jump straight into it. So, tweet we have here is a late screenshot Saturday. Shame on you, being late.
Yes.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. So he said he spent most of his week modeling new stoves in Blender 3D, which soon can be ordered in the in-game online store. The electric and the induction stoves will reduce the cooking time. Let me know what you think. So these are screen caps, so we can just go right into it, Eric. It'd be awkward if Eno gives his own opinion, though I think his opinion is that it's pretty good. I don't want to speak for him, but I have a feeling that he's quite okay with it. Um, so these are the stoves. Again, really well modeled. It's really impressive that Eno is a self-taught modeler and programmer, so he does the whole thing himself, and he taught himself because he's a real-life chef. If people don't know that, so he's a real-life chef, and he's taught himself how to do these things in game. And what I find the most interesting of this post isn't really the images, because again, they're perfectly serviceable stoves, very distinct. I don't really know the difference between induction and electric when it comes to cooking time, except that one takes a little longer to turn on, maybe. Um, but something I'm interested in. Uh, the current cooking stoves that you have in game, what type are they?
What do you mean? What type? So yeah,
Well,
these
he
are
said he said
passive.
he said that you said that in the online store you're going to be able to order these new stoves, and you have an electric and the induction type stoves will reduce cooking time. So those are two different types of stoves, electric and induction, and you're saying that those reduce cooking time. So what kind of stove do you have by default? The one that we've been looking at right now.
It's the gas stove. The
Okay.
the four spot gas stove is what is on default,
Hmm.
and yeah, and then you can expand it to spots, or tune it up to electric or induction.
Awesome. So this is something that we were talking about last in the last couple of weeks as you were working on the online store. And the online store up until now, you could only buy ingredients, which would allow you to kind of, if you didn't get what you needed in the dungeon, if you guys are not familiar with Eno's game, you go into a dungeon uh, with your little chef hat creature, and you do some RPG battles with enemies and stuff, and you find basically ingredients that you can then use to cook these dishes, these different dishes that take real time to cook. Or you can go to the store and you can buy these ingredients if you don't get the RNG you need and you don't find the ingredients you need, or you're missing one, you can go and buy that at the store. And we were actually waiting to see what other things you could buy at the store. And you've now hinted that upgrades straight up to your kitchen, I guess, because I'm assuming that if you
Yes.
buy the stove, which is clearly an upgrade, there's going to be other upgrades that you're going to be able to buy. So that kind of gives a new level of importance, not just to money, but to the store itself, which is really interesting. So tell us a little bit more about that. So we see the stoves, they're going to be available. Besides their cost, is there going to be any limitation? I mean, I'm assuming I can only buy a certain amount of stoves, and maybe down the line, 6 months from now, maybe I can expand my kitchen to fit more stoves. But what is the limit of stoves I can have in my kitchen
Um,
right now?
right now, I'm just thinking about one stove because this is usually what you would have in
So
a
you replace it.
good
Okay.
kitchen. So yeah, right now it's just replacing. Maybe later on there will be availability to get more
Expansion.
stoves, but yeah, but technically you would need more staff to handle more stoves. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm
O-
unsure about this.
Okay, cool. So is there any change in the oven portion of it when you upgrade it, or is it all just the same? Is there no difference when it comes to the oven?
What do you mean?
Uh, what I'm understanding, looking at this again, I'm not a chef, so excuse my ignorance. But you notice that the stovetop, the upper portion, is what usually changes. It goes from 4 to 6 in this version. Then you have the kind of the circular ones, 4 to 6, and then you have the what I see is the electric, which is small to large. So I'm assuming you get more spots on top. You go from 4 to 6 is one of the improvements you get when you change to the larger stove. First off, is that
Hmm.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
I also, just by logic, it looks like the oven is bigger, the lower portion, just by looking at it, because evidently it's a larger stove. Does this reflect in game, or is the oven really
Um,
not
it,
important
it
right
is
now?
yes, it is bigger, and the model will be bigger. So you will realize it in your kitchen that the stove is now bigger.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because otherwise it would look
Do you
stupid.
cook? Let me change the question. Do you cook anything in the oven, the lower portion?
I'm planning to. I'm planning to.
So
This
does the increased size of the upgraded version of this, uh, will there be certain, will you be able to put like two things in the oven at the same time, or be
yes,
able to cook a larger amounts or something? I mean, will it, is the larger oven also in effect? Is, I guess, is where I'm
yes,
getting at.
yes, yes,
Probably not
yes.
now,
I'm,
because
I'm
I don't think you have any recipes for oven right now, but in the
yes,
future I'm
because I'm
talking about.
still not sure how to handle the camera correctly on
Oh,
this
okay.
point. Because right now you're looking just at the stove spots at the top, and you don't really see the oven.
Maybe
So
like a
yeah,
button
but
that makes you like bend over, like when
yeah,
you're in a,
something
yeah, that you can't see the other one and can
something
only
like
see the
this.
oven, and you can see it through like the glass or something.
But
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, but I already have recipes in the making which use the oven, and then the six spot oven will be able to handle like two cakes at one time.
Awesome. So, when are we going to see you IRL making all of these recipes? Because I mean, how can I trust the veracity of this game if I don't see you make these recipes IRL?
So you mean I should cook them in real life,
Yeah, to
film
demonstrate
myself,
that
and
you
shoot the
know
good? Yes,
what you're
I
talking
can do
about. I
this.
mean, we can't
I can
just
do
we
this.
can't.
I
I'm
can
not.
even
I'm not
wear a
just going to
headset
trust your
for this.
recipes of your game. I'm not going to trust the recipes of your game. If I cook that in game, maybe they're poisonous. I want to see you make it and eat it, or at least make it and feed it to somebody, just to make sure that this isn't poisonous. Because I might try it in IRL, and then your game gives me food poisoning for trying stuff. So I need to see you make it. So there's some free content for you. Um, so
I will
Eric,
see what I can do.
Eric, jump in here. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the 3D models themselves look pretty solid and look very consistent with what is already in the game. Um, I like that there's not just the two designs for the different things. I like that there's three, and they are like the three most common that you'll find like visually out in stores and such. And I'm guessing because the last two are both electric, correct?
Mm, yeah, technically not. With the round spots, well, with the circle spots, this is an classic electric, and the other one is supposed to be an induction oven. At least
Yeah,
this is how they look in professional kitchens.
right.
So us
So it's
plebs wouldn't
basically
know
a
the
difference
difference.
between
Gotcha.
regular electric heating, where the whole element heats up, and then and then the induction version.
Yes, induction is,
So yeah,
is a magnetic field, and it's instant power.
yeah.
It goes way quicker.
It's
If you
also
ever cooked on
safer.
induction, it goes way quicker
Also safer.
and
But yeah, I
safer.
like the
Yes.
fact that you give the four different or four, the three different options. Plus the two like actual burner size or sorry amount of burners, so you can go from like the four, you can get the six one instead. But yeah, everything looks really clean to me.
Awesome. All right, good job, man. I look forward to seeing this implemented in the game, and I look forward to watching you. So you're going to have to in real life get a stove of each type, so I can see that the in real life the real upgrade is equivalent with the one in game. I mean, you wouldn't want to not be 100% legitimate, right? It's a game, but it's a simulation, really.
Yes.
So I want to see
Kind
you
of.
use all three. So I guess we can look forward to footage of you using all three ovens. All right.
Yes.
So
I cooked of all the three kinds of ovens in my career.
all
I
right.
see what I can do, but it's really hard to find still a gas stove somewhere.
No, I'll let go the gas stove. That's fine. Since that's the default, it's like, okay, you don't have to use that one. But you have to make the recipes twice with an electric and an induction.
This is actually doable.
So you need to, every single recipe in game, even a salad. I want to see you put the salad on the on the stove top, and turn it on for 0 seconds and then take it off and say it's done. I demand seeing that. This is
All right.
non-negotiable. All
All
right.
right.
I mean, I
That's my
have seen
homework.
salads made by wilting the lettuce a little bit.
Mm-hmm. There are possibilities to do that. Yes, and occasions.
Yep.
All right, boys. So good job, Eno. Let's move on. And here we have mine.
Now it's Dice's
So
turn to get
so
coachy.
so yeah. Now now you'll tear me to shreds. Um. Okay, so for Screenshot Saturday, worked on fixing and polishing some more stuff, and now included the ability to move your characters from the barracks to the occupied locations. This is how you will gain skills and stats based on what you have there, aka what buildings you have there. So this has no audio yet, so I'm just gonna make it big. That's that's terrible. Sounded terrible. And you guys can. I'm not going to comment on my own game yet. And, oh, nice pixelating. Love you, Twitter. Thank you very much. That's some high level quality right there.
Yep, that's Twitter for you.
It actually looks better on OBS than it does on my screen.
Yeah, on my screen, if I full screen it, it looks absolutely terrible because it's being compressed and then being stretched out to 1440p. But every now and then it gets crisp for a little bit, and I
Yep.
get to
Yep.
actually see what's going on. But yeah, it looks like the system's working pretty cleanly. So you can actually see the effects through the different things where you're clicking on barracks or clicking on the actual forest. That's pretty cool. Oh, it's a little drop down window.
Like it that each iteration Eric figures something additional out. That's just a
Well, I
testament to
mean,
how
it's not
great the video
something
is.
that we haven't. I mean, it's not something I've seen in your game yet. So at least that hasn't been like obviously moved and clicked over to like it was this in this one.
Yeah, yeah, this one has I think the communication between all three windows is better this time.
Yeah, and the fact that you go to the barracks to assign them
Yeah,
is
because they're
very nice.
there,
Because
and
then you
then
can.
when you assign one, when it goes back to the list in the barracks, there's only one guy left. And then when you
Yep.
go to the forest and the guy's there, you click him and you move him back to the barracks, and then he's no longer in the forest. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, everything looks very clean to me, especially visually. Everything seems to actually be working without any issues, which is always always a plus. Any thoughts?
Yeah, of course. I was just waiting for you.
I was just
um,
rambling because I'm.
yeah, awesome update as usual. As Eric said, visually very clean and it's easy. I got one question though. So the you can then in the barracks you do like a training, and I understand it the right way.
No,
You
the
do like a
barracks.
training to
Oh, go ahead.
to 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 upgrade your skills, or is it wrong?
No, and the barracks is kind of like your default where all your characters are. When you fight a battle, like when you click on in previous iterations, if you remember, when
Mm-hmm.
we were enter a battle, we always have the two guys who are in the barracks. So barracks is kind of like your HQ, right? So you're like
Mm-hmm.
holding this land and you go from place to another with the people who are in your barracks. Now, in this game, your characters when they fight in combat, they don't level up. It's not like traditional RPG games where you, or tactics games like in Fire Emblem, if you kill a unit, you get experience. If you do the last hit, you get extra experience. No, here you get no experience from killing guys. Your stats and I guess the improvement of your character happens when you station them in an area that has buildings that does upgrades. For example, up until now, we've seen
Ah.
buildings that generate resources, but they're also going to be buildings that have like 5% chance to increase uh, health by one up to a total of 15. So you're going to have to sit them there. But when they're sitting in that occupied area, they can't participate in combat. So
Ah.
it's kind
Okay.
of a
Yes.
balance of who am I using, who is in the wings training, and it also gives you a reason to occupy places since there's a limited amount of people that can be placed in an occupied area. So it's again, it's a management kind of aspect of the game where you kind of have to choose. I have this strong unit, but he's weak against poison. Maybe I want to sit him in this location until he gets the resist poison ability, but during that time I can't use him. Uh, so that's kind of where this is going to showcase because we've already showed the buildings that generate resources, and it's not very interesting to just show another building that generates a different resource. Now it's the second portion of this, which is giving character stats and skills. Your skills happen the same way. All those skills that we've showcased in the drop downs in the barracks, they are given by building certain types of buildings and locations and stationing your guys there. Um, so it's kind of there's an incentive for expansion and for building different stuff, but at the same time, since your building slots are limited and since you have missions and stuff, which is a system that is still not implemented in the game, but I've talked about in the past. You have to decide what am I going to focus on? Am I maybe going to build more combat oriented buildings to train my guys or to maybe produce new units? Because you've noticed that there's no build unit button anywhere. That's because
Mm-hmm.
these buildings will self-generate. There'll be certain buildings like you know, a garrison where you'll be
Uh
able
huh.
to that
Yes.
will every day at the beginning of each day it has a 50% chance to produce a basic soldier or whatever. Uh, so that's kind of how you produce things in game, and then it's kind of a you're planning things out, you're minimizing risk because everything is percentage chance, nothing is sure. But you're also kind of deciding what kind of build you're going for this time. And of course, as we said before, certain buildings can't be built in certain areas. So there's also that to take into consideration. Does that
That's
answer your
really,
question?
yeah. This, yes, of course, of course. It answers my question. Now I have just one more.
Sure.
For the buildings which generate resources, do I have to station a troop there as well,
No,
or
no, no,
do
no, no,
they?
no,
No, they
no, no.
generate it.
Mhm.
I just have to occupy this
Yeah, you
area.
when you
Then there are.
occupy a location, that allows
Yeah,
you to
I
build
even
stuff
have to
in it.
occupy to build it. Yes,
Yeah, and
of
then
course.
you build it, and then that'll just produce every turn. Keep in mind that right now, because we're in this, just showcasing stuff mode, it's not there yet, but each location has additional things to be concerned about. You'll notice it has a little corruption number and stuff like that. That
Hmm.
I'll explain a little further in other weeks. But maintaining a location is actually has a cost. We haven't seen any negative right now, since that's
Hmm.
not something that's been tested. But like when you occupy a location, it has a cost just to stay occupied. So you might build stuff to offset that cost to produce you a profit, or to just try to offset the cost, make it a sum zero, but it has a building that makes like units. So you have to like manage that part. But you don't have to garrison anybody in the location. You don't have to station anybody in the location mandatorily for anything
Hmm.
except getting the benefits that the buildings produce. That'll become more clear in future
Yes,
updates though.
but I can imagine it. I can imagine
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Really strategic.
yeah.
Awesome.
And hopefully easy to understand in the future.
At least I understand. I understand it. Yes, but I'm a strategic guy, so this is what I love. But it really sounds interesting. A lot of managing.
Yeah. So, anybody, anything else you guys want to say, or do you guys want to move on to the random entries?
I think we on.
All
I'm
right,
fine.
let's do it. So, now we're going to move on to the random entry section. We're going to look at people's different screenshot Saturday posts that I have chosen for you guys today. And we have a total of 5 today, and it's going to be fun. And let's start with numero uno. In this case, we got Azurexis. At Azurexis, he says, "Hey, screenshot Saturday. We now have an almost complete turn order mechanism. You can already move around the enemies. Yeah, excuse me. You can already move around. The enemies are still stuck though. So let's check him out.
Just a nice little animated GIF.
Yeah." I noticed you saw I was trying to make it big. I was like, oh, well, can't I make it? Oh, oh,
You go.
it's because I'm a dum dum. That's why I can't make it big.
You're clicking on it and it keeps stopping. You're like, why?
Why does this happen? Where is the little thing on the corner? So I think I'll jump in first on this one, if that's okay with you guys.
Hmm.
Um, First off, there's a lot here to love, but the first thing I want to point out is the table. You have on the outside of the actual like level, you have like what looks like a table, almost like this is like put on a table and you're playing a board game. I love that personally. There was
Yeah,
a
I was
game
I was gonna
jam
mention that.
There was a game jam that me and my missus did where we did something very similar. We had a table, and we had like the level, and you could see the borders of the table. Same kind of concept. So I love this. I've done it before. It's really interesting to do. Um, so just I just immediately I saw that, and I felt this had to be a part of this week because I've done stuff like that and it's really cool. Um, where this guy's blew it out of the park, or knocked it out of the park, excuse me, uh, in my view, is just the overall turning of the camera. It's a nice little effect. The sprites are doing a nice little look at the camera. But the speed and the way they do it, it does feel like it's going around, and it gives us this nice little effect that I'm sure Eric will describe in a non-caveman way, since I am not an artist, but he is, so I cannot say it in such an eloquent manner. Um, the highlight is very clear. It's very, when he's moving the little turtle girl, it's particularly obvious how, you know, how much there's just a lot of love there. I think that as a minor criticism, you can see this particularly with the turtle girl. Uh, you might want to, if it's not already there, because again, this is a GIF, and the ability to move the camera has already been shown in the battle start animation. But if you notice, one of the spaces that ends up behind the tree is a little obscured, and they do the little transparency thing with the tree where you can kind of see the character when it moves. If you look at the little turtle girl when she moves around and she moves in the end of her animation, she moves. This is right before the GIF resets. She moves behind the tree. Uh, Necessary again to kind of, if the player doesn't have the ability to control the camera to move around, they might not be able to see that. But I assume they do. That's just a little, kind of a maybe a minor criticism just in case. But I'm pretty sure that they can probably move the camera based on the game start animation. I'll leave the turn order, red arrows, and the lower UI to you guys because I don't want to say everything. So excellent job, boys or
Yeah, I
boy.
mean,
I,
not a ton really to say that you haven't already said. The only thing I really commented on is that I can comment on is just I love the visuals. I love the graphics. It's super simple, very clean. I do love that it is like again. I love this mix of 3D world, but with this super pixelated kind of textures, and the characters are clearly the characters, the trees, little
yeah.
buds of grass are all 2D. I do like the little UI. Like you can see up at the top, you can actually see the turn order, which is
Hmm.
really nice. You can actually be like, all right, let me prepare. I know this thing's coming up next or coming in a few turns, so let me prepare for that. The UI looks very nice. Like I love the fonts that they're using, the colors they decided to go with really match pretty well. Yeah, no, this is very good. And yeah, I do like the table. It reminds me of like when you're a kid and you're playing tabletop games and
Hmm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
really well done.
Yeah. So I got a question for you, real quick. Something again. We've talked a little bit about this. Well, not a little bit. We talked quite a bit about this. This whole 2D, 3D phenomenon. How it's just. I'm a huge fan of it. You're a huge fan of it. Is more reserved on it. Depends a little bit of the situation. Um, but overall, we all like it. I guess my question I have for you is I've seen this used a bunch of times. However, sometimes when they do the sprites as characters, you don't get a feeling of depth. You get kind of that Paper Mario feeling that it's supposed to be, it's a flat character and you know it's a flat character in a 3D world. In this game, they kind of, again, you still know it's a flat character, it's evident, and that's the intention, but it has a better sense of depth than other games that I've seen. In other games, it kind of looks a little too flat. Like you feel like you're looking at a straight up image. Well, here you know you're looking at a sprite. It's obvious, but you don't feel like the features are all on the same plane. Like if you look at the nose of the little chicken thing with the goggles, it doesn't look like it's all in the same plane as the eyes. I'm explaining this terribly, so you're going to have to translate for the audience a little better or try to understand what I'm saying. Um, does that have to do with how the sprites are designed? Does it have to do with maybe the shadows and how they're implemented? Does it have to do with the camera angle that they are sprites, but they don't look like pieces of paper standing up? Like they look like they have a little bit of depth. Like, do you understand what I'm saying, or is this just making no sense?
No, I mean I get you. Like a lot of these things are just a combination of
A,
one
B,
making
and
sure a
C.
lot of the color paletting matches really well because they're matching very clearly with the background. There's not any distracting shadows because the shadows behind them obviously help give you that feeling of depth. The fact that the models are shaded a little bit, and usually it just comes down to different colors. Like they made sure that the goggles, coloring wise, stands out just enough over the little hat thing that it's sitting on to make you not just see it as a blending in model. So a lot of that comes down to what color palette you're using. And this it's very bright and vibrant. So that kind of helps break things up a little bit for you just naturally. And that's why, even older games, that's why they would always use a very bright color palette
Oh, so that way when
because
they
it
put
just
like the
helps.
dark portion, it looks like shadow and death, like in the trees, right? Is that?
Yeah, it gives you
Oh,
that
okay.
natural depth, but without needing or requiring the amount of detail that it would take if you were to do this in like a comic book style or something.
Awesome. I'm learning. I'm learning art stuff. Uh, hit me.
Yeah, there's really not that much to add. So overall, it looks really beautiful. The camera movement is really smooth and nice, not too fast, as you said. I like the turn order as well. You can really plan out at least the next 5 moves. You know who's next on the order. Yeah, as Eric said, colors are beautiful. All looks really nice. Yeah, nothing really more to add.
Looks like they're
Also,
fighting
you'll see
tomatoes to
as a
send it over to your
reply,
world.
but yeah, also you can see as a reply, they actually talk about the being able to see through for the characters.
Yeah, yeah. You can kind of notice that a little bit in the end of the previous GIF, but again, like you can see the character real good. That actually is a really good example of what I was talking about. If you can see that character is currently highlighted, and you can see like the blue over here, but you can't see the blue in this area down here. So they don't allow you to move the camera, which I think they do because this is another perspective of this level. So clearly they rotated the camera all the way behind this little hill. So clearly that's not going to be a problem. What I was getting at a little bit is that here, if this was like the only perspective, you can't see half the spaces where it's going. And even if you can see the character, it's still not. I think it could use a little bit more transparency. I don't know if you'd agree with me on that, boys, but at least to me, it looks like could use a little bit more transparency. Like I can notice what
Hmm.
it is, but if this was a bigger tree and there were three characters instead of two, it'd look like a blob more than anything.
Yeah,
Is that
but
fair?
I think it's just a little bit of balance. Yeah, for sure. Like it's definitely a bit of a balancing game, but also I have a feeling they'll let you like either hold down a mouse button or just click a key and it'll
Yeah.
like rotate in
This is
increments.
the same environment with the exception that it has two new flowers over here and four over here, but it has the same. This is the same little mountain that we're looking in a reverse perspective. The only thing different are the flowers. So I assume
Yeah,
you can rotate it.
yeah.
All right. So anything else you guys would like to say?
No,
All right. So good work at Azurixis. I butchered his name, guaranteed, and I apologize for that. So let's go to Utopixel. At Utopixel. He says, in our pixel art puzzle based adventure game, Outwonders, altering the environment is key to progress. More on this at utopixel.games/n/blog, blah, 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 blah. So let's check out. It's a GIF once again, and let's start this time with Eno, continue with Eric, and I'll be last.
Yeah, it really looks very interesting. Um, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the pixel art, but it doesn't really scream that much pixely at you. I don't know how to say it better. Eric maybe hates me now, but yeah, um, it really looks cute with a little monkey. I wonder now what really kind of riddles there are, but it seems like you're shaping land or something like this. He rolls over the green thing and some bush or something like this appears. Yeah, I wonder right now what kind of puzzles and riddles are in there. Well, overall, it looks really interesting.
I think, Eric,
mm.
I was going to say something, but it's your turn. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, like I love vision. I love pixel art. I can't help it. I like in this one they're not going with like they're going with a nice kind of warmer color palette, which is very indicative of like a jungle type environment because it looks like a monkey. It looks like there's like a jungle behind them. I do like the way the environment kind of is used to play with things, especially because you can clearly tell that you clearly won't have the ability to necessarily control the monkey, it
Yeah, that's what I was
seems.
going to get
Otherwise,
to.
why would they have it so that you have to block your path back? So it's pretty interesting that now you have to like actually think about how it goes. And I'm sure it's they're gonna add even more weird things like jumping puzzles or something. I don't know. It just all looks really nice. I love the smoothness of the animations, like when things grow or pop or change. It's really bouncy and it looks like it has a good amount of like kind of energy to it. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I was going to say that it does seem to me that the whole point of this is that you can't really control the little monkey thing. Apparently, you kind of like drop it in an area and then he just goes like through this predetermined path. I guess I would the biggest criticism I would give to this, because again everything looks fantastic. You guys kind of already mentioned it. The animation of the little flower thing is great. Um, the only criticism I give to this is something that we kind of suffer from as well, or at least I know I do personally, which is you have to remember that a lot of these screenshot Saturday tweets, they might be the first tweet somebody sees of your stuff. So a lot of people just kind of go off of the art and say like, well, if the people find the art interesting, they will come and they will look at it, and that's certainly effective when you have very distinctive art or beautiful art like this one. But I think we all need to find a better way. At least I know I do, and I think that Utopixel could do too in this particular tweet to communicate more specifically what the game is about. I know he said it's a puzzle base and he kind of talked a little bit about it, but like assumptions such as, oh, you can't control the monkey. Uh, I'm calling it a monkey, but it's more like a monkey Digimon thing. Like he's got no arms or legs or anything.
It's a chibi monkey.
There you go, that thing. So may I don't know how he would do it here. I don't really have. It's not the most constructive of criticism. Um, but maybe, and he does put like the blog, but I think something that he could do would be in the previous tweet, he put a reply right there to make something clear, uh, and that previous tweet was pretty explanatory that we looked at because they had like the whole combat system. It's clear that it's a combat game. Maybe have like some more, if you're doing gifts, might have 2 or 3 more gifts in your own replies, just so people can see. Uh, Again, the first thing that you question here is, do I have control of the monkey thing? The answer clearly is no, based on what we're seeing here. Maybe have a couple more screenshots or GIFs as a sub reply, kind of driving that home. Because again, a puzzle is 100% dependent as to what actions I can take in order to complete it. In this little example, it seems the only action that I can infer that you have is where you drop the monkey and the direction it goes. And maybe a subtweet answering that question would be beneficial. What do you guys think? Do you think that's fair?
Hmm.
I mean, that's fair, but it also looks like they created their account not long ago.
Oh, I mean, hell, they're doing pretty good. 26 likes
Yeah.
with 4
They
followers. That's
literally joined November 2020, and their oldest post is like on the 1st, I think. Yeah, on the 1st of December.
damn. Well, from a marketing perspective, maybe I should shut up because they seem to be getting pretty good numbers. But I do stick to my criticism, though.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's a fair criticism. I'm sure as things go forward, they'll like slowly keep adding more and
Yep,
more
yep,
different
yep.
content especially as they learn how to market.
Yeah. All right. So, do you have anything extra to say, or Eric, or should we
No,
move on?
thanks.
No?
Okay, so let's go to Paranoiacs at Paranoiacs89. Maybe someday I will actually finish a game. Maybe this one. Know that feel, brother. Absolutely know that feel. Let's start with you, Eric.
I hope he finishes this game. It looks adorable. little little looks like a little baby bear. I love the art. I'm gonna love the art style because this is
Yep.
like that super smooth, clean kind of 3D that's like really like super. I don't even know like the term
It's
for
like
this style.
cartoony polygon or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was trying to think of like the polygon word.
Polygonal.
Not polygon. There's like a more
Polygonal?
words. But anyway, it looked nice. I like it. The shaders are really clean. The lighting is absolutely gorgeous. I love that everything matches really nicely. Like there's nothing that looks too detailed compared to anything else. Everything looks like it's the same amount of detail.
I am
Yeah, no, it's
100%
really beautiful.
curious how they handle the little leaves that are coming down. Like, do they have a
Yeah,
particle system that spawns specifically where you are? Because you obviously can't have that happening everywhere in the world. Like, how do they handle that? Because that could easily be a resource nightmare, particularly with this excellent lighting that they have and this draw distance, which is fantastic. So
it could be like a bubble around the player.
that's what I think they're doing. I think that they're spawning it
Because
like
even
right
in
there
Minecraft, when it's raining, it's only raining like
for you.
on
Yeah,
the block that you're standing,
yeah.
basically.
So I'm very curious how they handled it. Uh, since that used to be back in the day one of the things that Unity had issues with. I'm talking back in Unity 4 or something. They've been pretty good with this kind of stuff for a while. So again, I'm very curious as to how they handle it. What about you, Eno?
I, yeah, it's beautiful. I love the animation of the little bear. Um, the first vibe I get is this is kind of a relaxing exploration game. Maybe you got some little task which you wanna do, which you have to do, but usually, yeah, but mostly maybe it's meant to just walk around with a little bear and explore. It really, it's beautiful. There's nothing to add.
He does open up an interesting conversation point that I was debating whether we should get into or not, which is the whole finishing a game, the art of finishing a game. Uh, that is something I can certainly identify with in my time making games, be it game jams or indie games or whatever. It is certainly, as the Adam and Coffee guy says in the description, it certainly is a skill in and of itself, finishing the game. And that got me thinking when I originally saw this. It got me thinking a little bit on maybe a subtopic we can touch on right here before we move on, because we don't have that many more tweets today left. Um, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated? Uh, you've been developing your game for what, a year and a half at this point?
A little bit over a year.
Yeah, but over, yeah,
It,
you celebrated your year
yeah,
anniversary.
October something. October I started with this.
So, like, how do you keep yourself motivated and keep striving towards that goal? Because again, it's a difficult balance. It goes hand in hand with another topic that I'll leave for the end of the stream, if any. But keeping yourself motivated while working, while providing obviously a living for yourself. How do you do that? How do you kind of balance everything out? Because again, you've been doing your game for over a year, as we just discussed, a year and 2 months, 14 months. Um,
Hmm.
how do you stay motivated? How do you balance it all out? How do you continue to produce content? Because another problem that some people run into uh, is they develop their game and they have nothing to show for 3 months, and then they finally have something to show, and they get very little traction because again, it's also a marketing game. It's also a how much do people interact with you on social media game, and they put it out and they get 6 likes, and they just feel demotivated. It's like, oh, I've worked 3 months for 6 likes. That's not, it's not fair or whatever. And that can obviously go into a marketing conversation, but just from a motivational standpoint, not just to continue working on the same project, because you've probably had other side projects in your head pop up during this time. How have you managed the not going to work on those other projects, going to specifically focus on this, and I'm going to be productive almost every week?
Yeah, one thing, it's discipline. Um, I got a strong discipline, so I'm gonna stick with this. And what motivates me more than getting feedback for content, I see something moving as well. This keeps me motivating that I could implement, because I'm self-taught, that I could implement a system which I couldn't thought about 2 years ago. This just pushes me every time a little bit if it's working like I intended. And then friends of mine which are playing the game and from time to time ask me, "Hey, when's the next update? What are you planning next to put into?" And this keeps me motivated to something deliver. If I would say right now, "Oh, I stop it. I'm not finish it," I would disappoint a lot of people, especially friends. And yeah, this is what keeps me going and motivating.
Awesome. Eric, what's the perspective of an artist? Same question.
Uh, Perspective of honors on what specifically?
Staying motivated, continuing forward with a personal project, or you, for example, you were designing a comic book, if I remember correctly. Um, how do you keep yourself motivated while balancing that out with your other responsibilities, your day to day, making money and all the other things that people have to balance their lives out with? How do you stay motivated on working on your personal projects? Uh, and just getting them done, finishing whatever you're developing. How do you motivate yourself to do that?
Uh, can we not talk about that subject? It's a bit painful.
Well, I guess I'll take it. I'll take it. And
I
then
was
you
about
can
to
just
say, what the hell you think I'm able to stay motivated, man?
well, I guess
The
the
problem with
go ahead.
motivation, and I'll say it this way: if you don't already kind of naturally fight with a lot of like mental illness problems, like because that can have a huge effect on it. Like if you have any
Yes.
type of
Yeah,
mental
of course.
illness of any kind, you will always find that you're going to have struggling moments of like just feeling nothing and nothing will help. But one of the things that does help with like things like motivation is a lot of times you got to think of the small rather than the large when it comes to motivation.
Yeah.
Because if you
Mm.
think too far into the bigger picture, you're just going to wear yourself out almost immediately because you're going to
Yep.
get stressed, you're going to think too much. And that is the worst thing for motivation, especially if you're not a naturally motivated type person. So the moment it feels like your motivation is starting to die, the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do is to find the smaller goals that you can just kind of
Yep.
do and pick off here and there. Because even if you do like one small goal a week or every 2 weeks, that's progress. You can still look back and say, "Hey, I did a thing. Like it's not a lot, but it's something." And that's the only way that you can kind of keep your mentality positive in a way, and also just relying on friends and family to give you a little bit of a push when you need it. Like it's there's no shame in having someone pat you on the back and say you've got this, keep going, you're good, and have someone light that fire that you might need. Like not everyone is self-motivating. Someone needs, sometimes you need a little person sitting under you with a fucking lighter under your ass. Like sometimes you need that. So don't ever be ashamed of that either, like because
That's an
that will
interesting
also weigh
crossover.
on your mind.
That's an interesting crossover with what Eno said because he did put that in there. He said that
Mhm.
if he doesn't finish, he's going to let a lot of people down because he's told a lot of people. So that's an interesting way of kind of putting a little bit of pressure on yourself in the good way, the
Yeah.
good kind of pressure.
Yeah, it needs to be in a healthy way.
Yeah,
To
of
give
Yes,
course.
because
pressure.
the moment you
But
feel
yeah,
burnt, you have to take a break
Yep.
because you will kill your desires to do anything if you push too hard when you're already exhausted.
It's a really interesting topic because there's different ways of looking at it. Because if you're an indie developer and you want to make a living off of being an indie developer and making your own games, your perspective is very different as to somebody who looks at this as a passion, as an art, as something that he wants to do on his side, but doesn't necessarily want to live off of it. Because your focus then becomes a business. Then like time frames are very, very important. Then, you know, results are very, very important. So it shifts from person to person. It shifts from situation and circumstance to circumstance and circumstance. It really depends on it. But I think to me, because there's been a lot of games that I started and abandoned over the years or didn't finish or I didn't like how they turned out. A bunch of game jams and smaller games that I continue to work on and that kind of met their natural end maybe before I wanted it to. And I think one of the key things is that creative people of all um, walks of life, we tend to have a lot of ideas. We tend to have a lot of things that you want to work on consistently. And I think it goes back to what Eno said. It goes back to discipline. Because I'm sure that Eno's had a bunch of different game ideas he's had during this year that he might want to try out. But he also knows that juggling two games at the same time, or three or four, is probably going to harm all of them. So
hmm
it's okay to take that idea, write it down, write it in a Google Doc, write it down in a notebook, and put it away for later because maybe you don't know how you feel about it 3 months from that point. And it's also okay to take a break. There is going to become a point where you're going to become burned out, where you're not going to feel satisfied with it, and you're not going to be satisfied with your work. And at that time, it's time to sit down and ask, okay, why am I not satisfied? Is it because of things that have already happened, or is it because of things I'm predicting? Because that's another thing. We are really, really good, particularly people from our generation, we're really good at predicting failure. We're really good
Yep.
and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why we're so good at it, because we predict failure and then it becomes failure. So just take a moment, believe in what you made, and always make it fun. Even for those of you who are looking at it as a business and are trying to make money off of this, always keep in mind that you have to keep it fun because if you hate your product in the end, other people can feel that and it comes off on your work, it permeates it, and you will also uh, see that in the results. Okay, so yeah, that's a
Just
nice little.
ask any creator that was forced to push their work beyond when they wanted to. All of
Yep,
a sudden, you see that work start to tank and things start
and
getting worse
deteriorate.
because
Yeah,
they're dead. They don't feel it anymore. Cough, cough, Tite Kubo and Bleach.
I was also thinking of that example. I'm shocked that we went to the same one. That's a
I
but
could also
it
say
but
Dragon Ball because Toriyama clearly started to get annoyed with Dragon Ball because the studios kept pushing for more and more.
yeah, I think the Cell thing was like the first. That one worked out though when they were
That one
like,
worked out in their favor, yes. But you could tell that he was starting to get annoyed.
and you know, I mean, Toriyama's example is a little weird because Toriyama is also the Airhead styled creator, and I don't want to get into a anime conversation in the middle of our roundtable, but you know, he forget a lot of his own shit
Oh
consistently.
god, yeah. Whatever happened to launch?
Yeah, so it's like he
He just
forget,
forgot she existed.
which is actually in a way it's pretty healthy for him because it allows him to kind of never be burned out because he clearly lets go. He's
Yeah.
not like 100% in it all the time and it's like this is my baby. I can't allow, have to know everything about it consistently. Um so but yeah, that's just a little side conversation I wanted to start.
Yeah. In case any of you out there want a good reference, look up the history of Tite Kubo, the writer and artist for Bleach, and you can see how pushing someone to keep making something when they clearly wanted it to end at a certain point can hurt your product.
Yep. And again, his example is really good also for business minded people because he was clearly meant, in my opinion, to work for somebody versus creating necessarily his own thing. And here's what I mean by that. It doesn't mean that he's not creative. It doesn't mean that his storyboarding is bad or anything like that. But his interest was always he wants to draw cool fights.
Oh yeah.
That's his thing. I want to draw cool
Look at
fights.
any of his other projects that he made.
Exactly. So he would have benefited a lot if he would have teamed up with somebody else and helped them kind of have all the vision that they, the long-term storytelling or whatever, and have him just draw cool fights. Because he said it. All he wanted to do was draw cool fights and have excuses. And his story, his plot, his setting, it's all just an excuse to have really cool fights. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently. So that's also a kind of a little story of identifying your strength and finding the best way of exploiting that. So enough self-reflection, though. We have the Sandbox game at the Sandbox game
Which
to
I
look at.
find so funny that you added this into the the queue.
A little hint of more to come in the metaverse. Retweet all sneak peeks with the Sandbox hashtag until our beta launch to win the mega prize. Playing. It has audio.
This is like literally I'll let you two go first because I actually have experience with this program.
So why were you surprised that I included this in the queue?
Well, I'm just saying I was surprised because I actually got in on the alpha of this and I've messed around with it and I need to update it because I think I'm like one version behind. So
Awesome.
that kind of caught me off guard because I was like, oh, I know this thing.
Well, then let's have you start it off.
Ah. Yeah. Basically, for any of you watching or who watch later who don't know what the sandbox is, it is literally kind of a tool for kind of creating your own voxel based games. It is kind of an engine and it is a creating tool. It has all the things you need to kind of throw your models in, to kind of move them around. It does a lot of the work for you. You can import voxel models from they in fact they even promote, I think somewhere, a voxel editing tool, and it's supposed to be really simple. It's great for like beginners, people who've never gotten into things. I believe it was made with Unity. Yes, it was. Okay, there's the made with Unity thing. So it's got that on the back end. So it's I really like it because I dig the graphics. I dig what it's trying to do. I've toyed around with it a little bit, and it's pretty easy to get the hang of. It's still got some limitations, but they're still building on it, and I really hope they continue to build on it because this is a great tool to help get people who have no experience with things like programming or 3D model making, all that. It's a great tool to kind of get you in on that itch in a good way to get your brain kind of like, this is fun, I want to do this, and then slowly work their ways around to all the other aspects and find their find their place, find like, are they going to be more of a programmer, are they going to be more of an artist, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm actually happy to see this in our roundtable. I really like this, what this software is trying to do.
Thoughts?
That's quite interesting what Eric just said, because on the first look, when I first watched it, I thought, okay, this is something like a Minecraft and multiplayer game where you can get other things for real money or stuff like this, and then they were showing this big map. I thought in the first I thought it was something like a Minecraft in voxel art, you could say, but this sounds interesting. So you do actually do you make a game which you can then publish, or how is this meant? Because you're
I'm
saying
not
this is something
exactly
like an
sure of the
engine,
publishing system
okay,
because
but a
I haven't
playable
gotten,
game you can make,
yeah, like I haven't gotten in there, but you can make playable game. Like
and
you're using
other.
its base as your like kind of your groundwork. You add your
Okay.
pieces, you build your environments, you can kind of program the dialogue and stuff like that, and they're slowly adding more key tools to help you with it.
And then I can come online onto and play your game you made in there, or how is this working? Or is it just for you to play then? No.
I believe you can share it because they have their own like little. If you look at one of the tabs, it says play, and I
Mm.
believe that's so that you can upload it to their sandbox system, and you can play anything that anyone else has made through this sandbox. So I'm sure they're probably going to work on adding the ability to export in a way that you can just play it like natively on your computer and stuff like that. There's a
This
couple
would be,
other
yeah,
uh,
awesome.
systems that are trying to do the same thing. It just takes longer to get the export systems to work because of like licensing agreements and getting that software to work. So I feel like that's kind of something they got to work out.
This sounds really interesting.
Yep.
So when I
Like they're
originally,
basically
oh, go
taking
ahead.
the what a lot of like RPG Maker and stuff are trying to do, making it very easy to just get in and make
Game
Mm-hmm.
something.
Maker, RPG Maker, yeah.
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 And they're trying to get it to where you can do it with even like voxel stuff in 3D.
So when I originally saw this, and I guess this is a question for the roundtable, I thought it was a game when I first saw it. Then I figured I was
Mm-hmm.
okay. This kind of doesn't look like a game when it got to the laptop section of this, when it shows like the little laptop and stuff. Uh, and I asked myself, well, we usually review games. Does this have a place? Well, it's the game Dev Roundtable, so I was a little mixed. So I decided I'm going to throw it in there, and then we'll decide if it can compete or not for highlight of the week. Um, my personal opinion is engines like these. I'm going to call it an engine, even if it's not necessarily an engine. Engines like these, game making tools like these, they obviously fall under the game dev umbrella. So my instinct is they could, be here. Maybe they don't qualify for the highlight of the week because they're companies instead of like individual people who are just trying to up and come. And this is more indie focused than what this kind of represents. But I was interested in showcasing it because again, it does open another door for developers, and I think it's something that we should keep more of an eye out as a community, I guess, to kind of figure out those that have like good practices and stuff like that. Because look where Eno's mind immediately went, which I think is the correct way to look at this. Can you export this? Do you own what you export? Is it yours? Do you have to pay them a fee for it whenever you export? A percentage, royalty? How does this exactly work? Once we get to that exportation, I guess, part, and maybe that's already been answered. I haven't looked into this any more than this video, and what Eric has illuminated us here. Ooh, little board fell. Um, so It looks super interesting. I'm, for one, am very much in favor of the idea of more engines like Game Maker, more engines like Construct, more engines like RPG Maker that can get people into the development side. Because the traditional way to getting into game development, it's changing. There weren't game designer uh, degrees that I was aware of when I went to university, and it wasn't that long ago. So I really like the idea. I'm not that old, Eric. Don't sneeze. Um, I really
It
like
was
the
me.
You
idea.
know.
I really like the idea that there's more options, as Eric described, to discover what exactly you're interested in. And if you want to develop games, not have to learn like an entire subset of skill before you get into game design, which is a skill in and of itself, which a lot of people I know have kind of found that problem when they become excellent programmers or fantastic modelers or incredible artists. And then when they get into making a game, they figured out they don't know how to make a game. And it's really good to have these kind of tools. I started out with Construct 2, even if I had a programming background. I started out with Construct 2. That's when I made my first games. And you kind of get broken in a much easier way than having to spend 6 years learning how to program and stuff, and then you get to make your first game. So I like this. I like what it represents, and I think we should keep an eye on it because again, we're the curators of these tools. We are the target market for this. Maybe not us directly, maybe people who are younger, but um, you know, we should keep our eyes peeled on this stuff because I didn't know it existed until I saw this tweet. So, just wanted to come here and kind of show this. So,
Yep.
closing thoughts, or should we move on to more proper?
No.
All right. Then the final entry of today is Project Feline. New pre-alpha test build for Project Feline is here, featuring new movements, graphics, game modes, and more. ProjectFeline.com, Enogames, Celsha, Dead Game, blah 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 blah, bunch of stuff. Let's look at it. It's got audio. So a nice little simple teaser trailer of the pre-alpha footage. I'm just gonna say Mirror's Edge and pass turn to Eric to Eno.
Yeah, it really looks beautiful. I love the shader. It's a nice shader. Um, looks like a 3D platformer, action platformer. Um, really quite interesting. Like precision and timing, which you might need with running along the walls and collecting some coins and stuff. Really pretty interesting.
Eric.
Yeah. Kind of like with the last one, I've actually on and off been following this project, mainly on YouTube, and yeah, I love the graphical feel they go with the cell shading. I actually watched they actually have a video up where they show kind of how they went about getting the look and how they learned how to get that look and such. Um, but yeah, like it looks fun. It just looks like a fun parkour kind of game. I love that it's like a little Neko anime girl.
With
I'm always down
robot
with that.
legs
Yeah, the robot legs are fucking dope. Like I just think those are so cool.
and thick.
Um, oh yeah, they gotta be.
So
Little tail waggling and shit. So I like it.
so I'll say it again. Mirror's Edge, anime Mirror's Edge. And I say that in the nicest way possible, as a compliment. This just appeals. This really gives me memories of Sonic Adventure Battle 2, particularly with the grinding part. Back when I was a kid, I always thought, oh, it's so awesome that you're running around in the city, and I'm obviously only talking about City Escape, the first level of the hero side of things. Um, and just this ability of running all over this urban environment, grinding on stuff, wall riding and stuff like that. And only in my later years did I figure out that there's a name for that. It's called parkour, as you eloquently put, Eric. Um, it looks really good. It looks really comfy. It looks really responsive, which is really important. And it looks really open. And I'm very, very curious to know that in that part where you can see like all the colored blocks when she's wall walking from these like suspended platforms, I'm curious if I can drop all the way down there and I can just continue the level down there, or have to work my way back up or whatever, or if I just straight up die if I were to fall from this. Because the more open, the more options I have in these type of games, the better it is, because it just makes my playthrough different than anybody else's, and not in just a superficial way. So, you know, congratulations, Project Feline, is all I can say. So I think that unless anybody has anything else they want to say, we have reached the end of today's screenshots that we are going to look at. So now it is that time again for us to choose which one will be the highlight of the week. And I think that, as I said earlier, I think the sandbox is kind of disqualified from that choice. Do you guys think that's fair?
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's more of an engine than anything else.
Yeah. And again, it feels like it's a company behind it, but that's not a derogatory in any way. So
Yeah,
congrats to them,
I'm
but let's
pretty
let's
sure it's just a small group, but I don't know them
well,
that
if
well.
it's just a small group, they should doubly take this as a compliment, because it feels like they're a big corporation because of all the Atari and all the logos and backers that they have. So that should be like the biggest of praise when an indie group is confused with a bigger corporation, maybe double A or whatever. Um,
Yep.
so let's go through the four tweets that qualify. First, we have Azurexis at Azurexis, which was our nice little uh, pixel art mixed with 3D on a little table tactics game. Then we had our puzzle game from Udo Pixel with a monkey who would roll around. Then we have our little bear walking around in the mysterious land of finished games by Paranoiax89. And last but not least, we have what we just looked at, Project Feline. So I'm going to first force Eric to pick. So Eric, who's your pick?
um, See, like in this case, I'm probably gonna go with visuals, and so I think I'm gonna give the cute bear my vote, just because the visuals are just so gorgeous on that one.
So Paranoiax has got one vote from our resident artist based off of his visuals. So uh, hopefully you do finish this game, because you got high praise there straight from an artist. And Eno, who do you pick?
Yeah, I got to disappoint you, Dreaming, but you are not going to tie break this week again. I got to go with the bear as well because, first of all, I wanted to finish this just as another motivation boost for you guys, because it just looks very, very beautiful. Keep going on this.
So the tweet actually gets him the content of the tweet and the art
As well,
both get him a vote. So this is where I usually would tie break. I'm always last to make sure tie break. I don't have to do it this week. So I'm just going to again. I love the bear. I love Paranoiax, and I really hope that he finishes it. And I hope this serves as motivation. Usually when this happens, I tend to cast my vote as I would. And this week it's not going to be unanimous, because I think Azurexis, it gets my vote. Again, I just it speaks to me on a developer level and as a consumer. So just looking so clean and so nice with those transitions. So he gets my vote, but it's a 2-1, and this week we got Paranoiax as our highlight of the week. So congratulations, and we hope that this serves as motivation, getting the prestigious highlight of the week. And what we usually do with highlight of the week, and we didn't do it last week, so I apologize, but we go into whoever won and we look a little bit more at his stuff. So let's do that right now. He's got some retweets and stuff, but I'm going to go into his media tab to see what he has posted. And he's got a game from 2019, so he has another game from 2019. So here comes the whole motivation conversation. And this one has some very nice crispy audio. Real crispy. So this is actually his first game that he posts not his first game, excuse me, his first post of his new game, the one that we currently looked at. He's the developer of Paint Boys. I don't know what Paint Boys is. It's a game that he made years ago, back in 2017. Looks fantastic. And he doesn't have any other links, unfortunately, of other social media or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just kind of lazily scrolling through his stuff and just seeing like some of his older games from like 2017 as well.
He also regularly retweets people, which is really
Yeah, he
awesome.
does.
So you get my follow, Paranoiacs. You can do it, buddy. You have definite experience. You have the skill necessary. Go forward, my friend. So that's it for this week. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
I'm
Keep
fine.
making games.
Yes.
We certainly need more gamus. Certainly need more gamus. And don't be afraid of things like polish and stuff like that, because clearly Cyberpunk 2077 didn't stop them. Ooh, burn, controversy, hardy har har. Uh, that's a joke. So anyway, boys, thank you all for joining me. These were Eric and Eno, which you can find where? Eno, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter or on Discord. Links will be in the description.
They already are. What about you, Eric?
All my stuff is in the description as well. I have no like major projects at the moment. I'm just kind of casually working on music here and there and trying to figure out some stuff I want to do. But yeah, you can keep up with me on all my
Been
social
streaming
media
lately?
and YouTube. Streaming, not so much. I haven't really had much to stream because I'm not really playing games at the moment.
I see.
And doing music streams is kind of weird, just the way I have to set it up.
I
It's
see.
kind of weird.
It would be
But
awesome though if you were to do it sometime.
yeah, I do plan on wanting to do that, but I want to make sure I have something that's like more streamable. Like, so I want to make sure I actually have a project to do. But I am
Awesome.
working on some music stuff, collaborating with a fellow musician that I know in another band. So
Coolio.
got some things on the works.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. And I'm Dreaming Dice. You can check out my currently unnamed strategy game in the description below on my Twitter and the Discord thing. Drop your media if you want us to check it out. I think we're going to be taking a winter break. We might be starting next year. This might be the last one of the year. I haven't decided that yet. I need to see how next weekend goes because I have to get ready for visitors that are coming in on Christmas, and next weekend is kind of the time where we fix everything up. So depending on that, we may or may not have any more editions this year. If we don't have any more editions this year, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year's. Have a wonderful holidays, and remember that next year is going to be probably better than this one. So
Man, I hope so.
stay with your loved ones and just have a Merry Christmas in case I don't see any of you. Have a good night. Say goodbye.